The negatives for me were the just realizing that it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like, you can't miss meals. Like, I had to learn how to be prepared all the time. If it ever entered my mind to get off the step mill early, I'd add 5 minutes. Punishment for thinking about it. Well, it was 30 minutes, now it's 35. Because you honestly considered getting off of this thing early. Someone like myself and a lot of other people, I really hope people keep a honest understanding of what they look like, because I see people chasing a carrot that's not theirs. About that much blood hit the floor, and I go into surgery and I wake up 27 days later. And I was like, okay. My bodybuilding journey started a lot like I imagine many of yours, where I started out playing in a different sport. I was a hockey player since I was a kid, and around my 18th birthday, I actually ended up injuring my shoulder. I had dislocated it about 30 times over the course of about a month from playing hockey, and had a surgery, assumed that that was going to fix the injury and I'd be right back to playing, but quickly thereafter I realized there was no place for me in the game anymore. So had to go out, get a real life, get a job, did what everyone does, just kind of got started and realized I needed somewhere to put my competitive energy. I had no idea where that was going to be, and wandered into a gym. Literally the first day I was in the gym, I saw a poster of a show on the wall. I said, you know what, I'm going to do that. And I started my first prep. Had no idea, had no muscle, just decided I need somewhere to put the energy. Did my first show, hated every minute of the process, but I was too stubborn to quit, and said I would never do it again until the day after the show that I realized I loved the suffering and have been doing it ever since.
You were attracted to the suffering.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Well, I didn't realize during the process, but when it was over, I realized that the thing that I enjoyed most about bodybuilding was the self-chosen misery. You know, I mean, it's an idea where you're choosing to do something hard. You don't have to, no one's making you do it. Unlike other sports, there's not a coach yelling or anything like that. And the only person that really knows if you're giving it everything you have is you. There was something special about that. And it really helped me connect with the reward at the end, because I didn't win my first show, but I felt an enormous accomplishment going through all that and knowing that I did everything I could. And I realized that for me, the stage win wasn't what mattered the most. It was the prep win. It was knowing I did everything I could do to be at my very best. And then the result was the result.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting lifestyle and sport to pursue. I mean, what would you say someone who, like, you've really kind of had a fairly long career span in bodybuilding. When you first got into it, when you first started competing, did you think you'd be able to turn it into a business?
In the beginning, I bodybuilded just because I wanted to lift weights. I wanted to be big. I knew at an earlier age, prior to even getting into bodybuilding, I was kind of drawn. I would pick up the magazines at the store. You kids probably don't know what that is. It's a paper internet. But basically, I would pick up magazines, just scan through and see who the top guys were. And I was just kind of very impressed and blown away by their physiques. And once I started training, I realized, like, I want to be a freak. I had no interest in being pretty or having a beach body. I surely wasn't confused that I was getting into weightlifting for girls. I just wanted to be really, really big. And I started doing that. And as luck would have it, at the time I was tinting car windows for a job. And I believe at this point I was 19 years old. And I was making really good money for that time. And I absolutely hated my job. I knew I hated my job because Sundays around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I would start dreading Monday morning. And a friend of mine said, well, you should quit. And that was a mind-boggling idea to me. How are you going to quit when you're making the kind of money you're making? And I have no college education. I have no skills. I was a hockey player. But I thought about it and I said, well, why not? So I was going to a supplement store at the time, and I decided to just walk in there, ask them if they were hiring. I went from making pretty close to six figures tinting car windows to $8.25 an hour selling supplements. And that's when I realized that I really love bodybuilding. I love learning the nutrition side of things, going deeper into it. And kind of during that process, I thought there's got to be a way that I can never work a day in my life again. Because I really hated working for money. And I realized that I was not money motivated like a lot of people are. I thought I was. You start making good money at 19, 20 years old, but I realized I hated life more with money than doing something I loved without it. So I said, okay, there's got to be a way that I can make the money while doing something I love. And that's where the supplement and bodybuilding world came in. And I said, I'm going to find a way.
So do you feel like, I mean, when you chose the supplement industry, working at the store, that's kind of giving it 100% because your day-to-day lifestyle revolves around growing muscle, learning about how to help other people reach their goals, and selling supplements. I mean, it's all bodybuilding. Do you feel like submerging yourself that much in the industry and in the lifestyle was a good thing?
For me, it was great because when I played hockey, it was what I did. When I got into bodybuilding, I realized what better thing to do than hang out with people who shared the same passion as me all day long. Because I looked at even customers that came in that just want to lose weight. I'm like, oh, you want to do what I want to do. You know, you want to better yourself. I might be doing it differently, but it gave me an opportunity to get paid to give back to people who don't really know what it is that they're looking for. So I really enjoyed that. And the other part was, what are their job? It was a hardcore supplement store. So, I mean, our logo was a bodybuilder, you know, hitting a pose. So there wasn't many other jobs I could think of where every 3 hours I could stop and eat and they would completely understand. Like, you could be putting boxes away and the alarm goes off and it's noon, it's time to eat. And unless you had a customer in there, you were good to go to eat your meal quickly and then get back to work. So I really enjoyed it, and that meant Battle of the Olympia videos playing all day long, magazines all day, talking shop with customers. And I was young, I was still getting into it. So a lot of the local bodybuilders that were much better than me were coming in there, which was also fun.
So with the lifestyle of bodybuilding, it's obviously, it's an extreme lifestyle, especially when you want to take it to the even national level, any level really. You have to kind of push through a lot of uncomfortable and unhealthy aspects of life. When did you get introduced to like the negatives of bodybuilding, the realities of what it takes to sort of grow and be in that level?
It's tricky for me because I think if you were to ask most people what that sentence means, that question, that's going to be more on the hormonal side, things like that. And I really viewed those things as necessary evils. It was just part of what you do. And as long as you were doing your blood work, keeping things correct, you were safe as you could be. The negatives for me were the just realizing that it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like, you can't miss meals. Like, I had to learn how to be prepared all the time. And once you do it, it's easy. Like, when people ask me that question now, I think it's silly. But, you know, if you're heading out of the house and your wife says, oh, hey, we're gonna go to the mall, I would always ask, okay, how long do you think we'll be gone? And she'd say 3 hours. And I'm like, okay, well, in case we're gone 6, I'll pack 2 meals. And then we'd be at the mall and I'd be like, I gotta go. And I'd walk to the car, eat real quick, come back. And that just became normal life to me. But I think for a lot of people, that would be a sacrifice they didn't really want to give up, you know, because it's not convenient. And it's honestly, in hindsight, it's not even that necessary. Like, now I've altered my views, and I think that as long as you're getting your food in between the time you wake up and the time you go to bed, and you're getting all the food you're supposed to get in, you're fine. I was psychotic. Noon was noon, 3 was 3, 6 was 6. Now with more experience, I realize noon could be 1. You know, hell, noon could be 2 and you could jam your meals in later. But at the time, I think it was good for me to have that kind of all-in mentality. And I was fortunate to have people around me that were just like, do your thing. Because I didn't ever let it affect other people other than me walking out of the mall and coming back in 15 minutes.
So you basically, like, no matter what, it was always the same. Like, you had your schedule, so you wouldn't alter time at all.
No, I woke up at the same time, went to bed at the same time, trained at the same time, ate at the same time. Everything was the same, as close as humanly possible. That was the beginning of my career. And it was funny, but I think it's a learning thing for a lot of guys that are possibly listening is, as my career went on, those things loosened up and I got better. I think I was owned by the game in the beginning before I owned the game later. And understanding that these tiny little things, I'm not saying that they don't matter, but in the grand scheme, they don't matter that much. You know, no one's gonna look at you and go, you'd have won, but those 2 times you ate your meal at 12:30 instead of 12, I think they got the best of you.
Yeah, but I agree with you, though. I think that sometimes that all-in mentality, especially at the start, shows that what you're capable of, and it's like, it really sucks, but you learn from it and then you adapt. But if you went all in and gave it everything you got, you're able to kind of come back, assess, and learn what you can do next time and not be, maybe I don't have to do all this. But
Right.
It definitely shows the mentality required, because, I mean, it really does require a lot of sacrifice, and it's hard for some people to understand. So do you feel like surrounding yourself with people that did understand the lifestyle allowed you to kind of thrive? Because maybe from my perspective, watching your videos, I always thought you had this, like, by any means easy approach, but your attitude was very like, go like fun, and like you tried to, like, it seemed like you tried to make it fun and like lighthearted versus always being so hardcore and miserable.
Yeah, I think that the way you worded the end of that is more important than the beginning. I think that I wasn't terrible to be around, so people supported what I was doing. I think a lot of times you hear people say, oh, my girlfriend gets mad about me for bodybuilding, or my uncle or my dad or whatever, and you're like, are you being an ass? Then I wouldn't, it's not the bodybuilding, it's you. You know, like, my diet, whether it was off season, pre-contest, whatever it was my diet, you know. And the other thing I always found interesting is, like, during the day, people really want to complicate bodybuilding. You're eating food. People eat during the day. You eat during the day. The only difference is you're eating a planned food or a planned amount. So outside of preparation, there's no thought involved. Time to eat the meal, move on. You know, same thing at the gym. I mean, I see guys and I think they're so focused on being hardcore that they're kind of ruining the fun. Like, and they're also spending a lot of energy just walking around overly hyped up. Whereas if you watch the old videos, like, I could be joking with you on the camera and then take a second, look down, focus, and pull 700 pounds off the ground 2 seconds later. I didn't need to be in that space, you know, and like you said, it seemed like I was having fun. I was having fun. There was nothing I would rather do with my life than what I was doing every day. So imagine whatever, anybody who's watched this, whatever your favorite thing to do, imagine not only you doing it, you're getting paid to do it, people want to film you doing it, and people want to watch you doing it. Now tell me that's not a good time. And that was just my normal day. And the whole time I'm very aware, I'm just a normal guy. I mean, I think it really helped too, because I didn't have great bodybuilding genetics. No one looked at me and said, oh, I could never be like him. I think I had a good fan base because people looked and they said, well, if he can do it, so can I. I mean, I have yes, there's things. I mean, I could put on muscle mass and things, but genetically my shape wasn't great. I hope that it allowed people to look and say, well, he's not special either. So if I want this or something like this bad enough, another not as extremely special person can achieve it.
It's interesting too, like the fact that the route you took, the connections you built through the supplement industry, you kind of got into the business side of bodybuilding outside of just focusing on strictly competing and winning.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your contest history. So you became a pro at what nationals was it?
2014 North Americans.
So when you became a pro, can you kind of talk about what happened at that moment, how that was, and then what you did next?
I'll back it up first because it kind of matters. So in 2006 was the first time I really gave a show everything. I hired a coach, I went through the whole process. And after that show, I realized this is what I want to do for my life. This is what I want to do for a living. So I said to myself, this is 2006. I said, I'm not going to compete again until I can win an overall. So in 2008, I picked a show, the Border States in California. I went to that show. I won the whole show, straight first, done deal. And then, as luck would have it, that was October show. In November is Nationals. And so when I came back to Arizona, everyone's like, oh, you got to go to the Nationals. Obviously, you just won a straight first. And I was like, those guys will kill me. I had a very clear understanding of where I stood. So I was like, no, I'm done, right to off season. I'm not competing at that level till I can be competitive. I'm not traveling to wherever the show was to get smoked just to be in the building. So I waited 2 more years, ended up doing junior nationals, won my first national level show, but it wasn't a pro qualifier. Then 6 weeks later, I went to the USA's, this is 2010, and my goal was top 5, and I got 5th place, which was winning for me. To give you guys an idea that are watching, I believe the top 11, could be 12 guys in that class, the super heavyweight class of that USA's, all turned pro before they retired. So it was a very stacked show. So getting 5th was exciting. And this is the reason I walked backwards, because after that show, my next show, I got 10th. That was 2011. My next show after that, I got 10th again. And then the internet and people started to question, was the 5th a fluke or was the 10th a fluke? Because you've had 2 10ths and you've had 2, I won and I took a 5th at a national level show. It starts to kind of creep into people's mind of which is which. And I knew which it was. So I immediately picked another show and I ended up competing in 2013 twice and 2014 twice before I finally won my pro card. Now back to your question, what happened? Nothing. I think that is the message I wish I could jam to people. Everyone chases this pro card so hard and they want it so bad, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have one. But I can tell you right now, as you know, Jose Raymond came out to watch me do that show. And I won, and it was great. I walked out on stage. I was the 6th person called out in the lineup. And it was just because they couldn't find my name. And as soon as I was walking to the end that you'd usually go, Steve Weinberger, the head judge, goes, to the middle. So I knew right then and then, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna win. Went to the middle, I win at night, and then I come out, get my clothes on, we go eat dinner, and Jose's like, you don't seem that excited. And I'm like, I knew I was gonna do it eventually. My life doesn't change. And in my eyes, I was like, if you really wanna take a step back, congratulations. On this particular day, you're the best super heavyweight amateur bodybuilder. 15 minutes later, you are now the worst IFBB pro that exists. And it's not about being the best or worst, but just the realization that for me, I knew that was where my career was going. The biggest thing I could achieve was a pro card. I never was gonna make money as a pro, I knew that. It wasn't even the goal. The pro card gave me something to chase for fun. It also gave me content to provide for people. It gave me a reason to get peeled. It gave me a reason to get big, but I never had any delusions of grandeur of what was gonna happen on the stage. There is an enormous gap between somebody who, let's say I'm in the top 20% of bodybuilders. Well, the jump to 10 is enormous from there. The jump to the top 5% is 10 times that. And I don't think most people realize until they're standing next to some of these guys, there is nothing you can do to become that. And I knew that from day one.
Yeah, I think it's even similar to when you see people who are rising pros, first, second year in open that look great, but when they stand against a 10-year veteran, the density, the structural size that these guys have after competing year after year, it's just it's unmatched. It's hard to see, they're just so big.
what's that? And then it's also just genetics, like the structure of how you look. I mean, listen, Phil Heath, when he started competing, he's doing his first show. Jay Cutler, current Mr. Olympia, goes, "Who the hell are you? Come under my wing. We're gonna line you on up." He was sponsored by Flex magazine, by Weeder, before he ever turned pro. I was at the junior nationals that he won in, I want to say 05, 06, whatever it was. Didn't know who he was. He walked out, I'm like, well, there's a winner. He was just over 200 pounds. He did the USA's 6 weeks later at 211, wins the show. He's competed 3 times. And the reason I point that out is nobody was telling me when I was in the gym, and I had a pretty good physique for a kid working out. No one was like, you should be a bodybuilder. I didn't look like a bodybuilder until, like, people used to always say, like, oh man, you're a wrestler, oh, you're a ball player. Like, I was big, but because I didn't have pretty shape, it's even in clothes, you knew, like, it wasn't until I was 250 plus that people said, oh, you're a bodybuilder. You know, whereas Phil Heath at 210 in a tank top, you're like, you're obviously a bodybuilder because nobody else looks like this. It's not for another sport, you know what I mean? So there's that factor. And then, like you also said, the test of time. But someone like myself and a lot of other people, I really hope people keep a honest understanding of what they look like, because I see people chasing a carrot that's not theirs. And you don't have, like, you can throw away what you love about bodybuilding chasing something that doesn't matter. Like, it can't be about the end game. It can't be about winning the pro card. It can't be about winning the Olympia. Do you love doing this? And if you love doing it every day, you will reach a point where maybe you do those things. Maybe you win the damn Olympia, but it'll be because you loved it, not the other way around. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like that mentality, that realistic approach to competing in this sport helped you in the long run with health as well?
I think it helped me with health. I think it helped me as a competitor also, because I think when some people hear that, the negative mindset come out, well, how are you going to be your best if you're not trying to win? And my argument was the opposite. I would say to myself as I'm getting ready for the USAs or whatever, these guys are better than me genetically, and they're working their asses off. I have to be perfect, and then hopefully they'll be a little off. And that's the only way I can sneak in on these guys. So it drove me. You know, when you're exhausted, I mean, anybody who's done a prep, it gets really easy with 1 minute to left. Your mind kind of goes, maybe you cut out early today, you know, or you're on the hack squat and you squeak out a rep and maybe you just rack it because no one else would know that there might have been one more in you. I would remind myself during those moments and even punish myself to do everything I could just to make sure I had a chance. So, I mean, my wife knows, I've told her, like, if it ever entered my mind to get off the step mill early, I'd add 5 minutes. Punishment for thinking about it. Well, it was 30 minutes, now it's 35. Because you honestly considered getting off of this thing early. And that just became a normal thing. And it allowed me to do a show, and the result meant nothing. And I think I proved it meant nothing because when I won, it also meant nothing. I didn't say, yes. I was like, cool.
Was there ever a point in prep that you truly thought like you weren't going to be able to keep going?
No, but I have a great story about it. So I worked with Chris Aceto my entire career once I was actually trying to be a pro. And in 2011, I asked him before the prep, I said, I don't care where I place. I just want to be the most shredded person in the entire show. From the slightest weight class to the highest, I want to be the shreddest guy. And so he said, okay. And about 6 weeks out, I was in contest shape. And we were going to keep pushing. So he called me one day and he said, listen, you're exhausted at this point. I owned the stores that I worked at the time, so I was super busy. He said, you're no longer allowed to think past 1 hour in your day. Meaning if you wake up at 7 a.m., you can think about everything you need to accomplish between 7 and 8. But you can't think about the whole day. It'll be too much. You'll be mentally exhausted just looking, oh, how am I going to handle all this stuff? Because I was peeled at this point. And he said, so he had stage 4 cancer years ago. And he explained to me that he'd be in bed, sick, obviously, literally dying, and it hit him, he has to go to the bathroom. And he would sit there and think about, like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And he would stay in bed until he literally had to get up. And then he would get up and he would go to the bathroom. And then once he was done going to the bathroom, he would then ask himself, do I have enough energy to brush my teeth? And he said the point of that was, he never said before getting out of bed, I'm going to go to the bathroom and brush my teeth. He couldn't make that decision. It was too exhausting. So when he taught me to do the 1 hour thing, it really helped because I was just like, 30 more minutes, we're fine. And he would reach out every now and then and say, how you holding up? And I would just say, it's not stage 4. I think about, it was always easy for me to go to the bathroom and brush my teeth. So no amount of effort or suffering that you're doing on yourself is stage 4 cancer. So let's pipe down a little bit and get through it.
Wow. Yeah, that's a very interesting, and that's the thing is bodybuilding is, for most people, bodybuilding is a choice. It's a privilege to live that lifestyle. Cancer is not.
Yes.
So that's a really good outlook to have, and I'm sure that put a lot of things in perspective for you, just hearing him say that.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel like, you kind of talked briefly about it, like you'll tell your contest history. It takes, 30 seconds, 40 seconds to tell your contest history, but the months, the time, the amount of time that goes into each and every contest prep, sometimes we forget about it, but in reality, it is like a very long process, some longer than others. Any preps that specifically just felt like eternities to you?
What I'll say is all of my preps were at least a year or two long. And what I mean by that is I would be in, 2012, the day of prejudging, when I knew I didn't place in the top 5, I knew what mistakes I'd made. And I said, I'm competing the last weekend of July at the USA's. Prep starts now. So that was that prep. After that year's North Americans, I said, cool, in 11 months, I'm competing, and the prep starts then. It's not the diet, but every day of my life when I decided I wanted to be a pro went towards being a pro. So, like I was telling you earlier, I never looked any way based on how I wanted to be today. It was, when is the show? What do I need to look like today, or what do I need to be eating today to make sure I'm the best at that date? So if it's off season, I'm eating a ton of food and I'm a little heavier. If I'm peeled out of my mind, it's not because I'm like, oh, I want to be lean. It's because the show is in 4 weeks, But as far as long preps, that 2011 prep, funny thing, again, back to the whole winning and losing thing, it's the worst place I've ever gotten. 10th place at a national level show, pro qualifier. I was completely peeled out of my mind. I lost muscle mass. It is the greatest prep I ever did, and I would do it again. I loved how hard it was. It was genuinely like I had to talk myself into going out for my second cardio, and it was just on the streets. He had me walking, There was something special about that, and it's actually how I met Jose for the first time. Here I am, second call out at North America or Nationals, and I'm coming out from backstage, and I just hear this Boston accent, Dusty Hanshaw. And I'm like, I look over and I'm like, why do you know my name? No idea who he is. And he's like, you were effing shredded. I don't give a shit where you placed. That was disgusting. And I'm like, yes, it was. And it was just, that was kind of a wake up. I realized, and something I tell young guys when I see them at shows, like, you could be a lightweight. If you are peeled, anyone who's done it knows what that is. And we respect it. I don't care how big you are. I don't care what place you get. Like, you went to a very dark place on your own accord, by choice, to make that happen. And I love that. But I think at the end of the day, when you say about hard preps, long preps, yes. But the big thing is when I step back, even back then, and you say, I'm starving. I don't know. I mean, I hear these guys, it's going to war. I'm like, have you ever looked at how much food you're eating when you're dieting? Like, so during that prep, by the end, and granted, my metabolism was through the roof, but I mean, I'm having 16 ounce of egg whites with a cup of oatmeal in the morning. I'm having 4 10-ounce chicken meals a day. You know, now they might not have anything but greens with them, but that's 40 ounces of chicken. And I'm having a full pound of cooked salmon every night. I'm like, okay, so am I really gonna tell someone that's starving how difficult it was for me to eat my 56 ounces of meat today? It's embarrassing to me I understand it's hard, but let's not pretend it's hard. It's hard by choice. You're hungry compared to how spoiled we are the rest of the time. And I think it really helps people understand, like, if you were to tell someone who's really hungry, like, you think you could handle eating 56 ounces of meat a day, I don't know that they'd be able to. And I'm telling you how starving I am, and feel bad for me. It's embarrassing.
Let's go to 2018, I believe, was your last show, right?
17, 18, yeah.
And why was that? Like, was that a planned, like, I'm done competing, or what was the strategy behind?
Yeah, there was no strategy. It was the first year that I felt I looked worse than I did before. And like I said, for me, it was never about placings. I mean, I never placed in the top 10. Like, it was never about that. The whole way down, doing everything I could, I got in good shape. It was the first time I'm like, I'm worse than I used to be. And I'm doing everything right. And I don't care about the stage part. So because it wasn't my driving thing, it wasn't what motivated me, I was like, I don't need to compete to enjoy the part that I love about bodybuilding. And so I just said, yeah, I'm done. And I kind of think it's funny, personal opinion here, but like, I never announced retirement. Like, people are like, oh, I mean, I'll see people online like, I'm retired from competing. And I'm like, you compete locally, right? Like, I don't think a retirement speech is necessary. And I say the same about myself. Like, Dexter Jackson needs to tell the world, I'm done. I don't think anyone lost any sleep when Dusty Hanshaw stopped competing. Like, you know, and I say that with respect. My fans were always awesome to me, but they knew what I was. I just stopped competing because it was time to be done. And I got to continue doing the part that I enjoyed most about bodybuilding, which was working with Mutant, doing the videos, having fun, meeting fans all over the world, sharing the stories, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very valid point, because I don't think a lot of people realize how few athletes who may have great physiques are actually not financially successful through bodybuilding,
right,
or able to create a financial path with the sport.
Right, yeah.
And you, from a very early point in your career, were sponsored and had the business side kind of in your favor. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you feel like that was from just your personality, your connections? I mean, how did you?
I think that good luck happens when you're in the right place and you're a nice person. So I definitely say I was in very good fortune to be where I was when I was, but I met my first sponsor when I was working at the supplement store. I didn't own it yet. And he had a new company, came into town, met him, we chatted a bit. He was asking me what I was up to. I said, oh, I'm getting ready to do a show. And he said, hey, my brand's brand new. We're gonna go to the Arnold in a few weeks. Would you come with us? And I'm like, yeah, you know, can I get a little money for that? And so he said, yeah, and we went to the Arnold. He was a really small company. No one knew his name. I was a nobody bodybuilder. No one knew my name. And we got started. And out there, I needed him to take my progress pictures for me. Took a couple pictures of me, realized I was in shape. He was like, you wanna do a photo shoot? I could use someone for the ads. Kind of asked the same question, can I get a little money? He said yes, and that was it. We started at that day, and I was with that company for 7 years. And yeah, I was fortunate enough that by the time I was doing my first national level show, people knew who I was. I was making a career income from bodybuilding and was doing other things. And I think it fell into play for me. And credit also to my friend Todd, who started filming me all those years ago. He's just like, yeah, I'm gonna film everything you do. And I would literally treat the camera like I was talking to Todd, and we would just have fun, and then he'd put them on YouTube, and popularity grew, and I found out, oh, this is how I'm gonna make a career from bodybuilding. People are just going to enjoy whether they're learning something about bodybuilding. I had really hardcore training. Maybe they like that. Maybe they just like that I'm goofing around and don't take myself too seriously. Whatever they choose to take is fine. But I just, at a very young age was like, this is me. Like it, hate it, it's all I got.
So after you stopped competing, did you downsize, or what did you do right after that?
No. I mean, that was the funny thing is I loved the part I was doing. I just kept bodybuilding. I kept training the exact same way. I really got into seeing how strong I could get. Had a big following of just doing crazy things training-wise and having fun. And yeah, that side did not change at all. The only difference was I had to stay around 10% body fat all the time because I didn't need to get heavier anymore. So I was up to like 312, I think. Before my last show, I competed at 270. And then I just kind of hung around 295. And honestly, as ridiculous as that sounds even to me now, like it wasn't that hard to hang out at 295 at that point because I was so used to eating. Because I wasn't pressing for new tissue, which meant it's a lot of food, but it's food I was used to eating. So no, I just trained, had fun, traveled with Mutant. And it's other than not having a prep and not having someone tell me what to eat, nothing changed.
Do you want to go into you had like kind of a massive life-changing experience.
The nap.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what I call it lovingly. So yeah, in May of 21, I actually had Todd, guy I mentioned earlier, was filming me through my birthday, which is May 7th, and he left on the 10th. We were filming training videos, eating videos, the whole thing. And then on May 14th, I was getting ready to go to a appointment with my barber to get the beard lined up, and I was running late, so I'm eating steak and rice, and I swallowed a big piece of steak, and it got kind of caught in my throat. But I could breathe, but I was like, it's stuck in my throat. So I showered. The whole time it's just sitting there. I'm showering, getting ready. I get all ready, it's time to go, and I'm like, I don't want this thing in my throat. So I grabbed a gallon of water, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it down. It goes down, but the whole way down, it's a little uncomfortable, And I'm like, that's weird, but whatever. So I go to my barber, get my beard done, and I'm supposed to be training back right afterwards. And I come out and I still just feel off. And I'm like, bodybuilding 101, I can make myself sick by just thinking about it. I was like, what if it's still stuck a little bit? So I just kind of went behind my truck and told my body to puke. And about that much blood hit the floor. And I kind of looked at it, I was like, well, that's gonna hurt the resale value. That can't be good. So reached out to a friend, told him what happened. And it's like, you need to go to the doctor. And I was like, all right, well, I gotta head home, let the dogs out, and then, no, you need to go to the doctor now. So I went to Mayo Clinic in North Scottsdale by my house, came in and told them what happened, and they just, okay, cool, fill out this paperwork. So I sat down and I said, hey, because your body can't digest blood in the stomach, So I started feeling nauseous again. So I said, hey, do you guys got like a bag or something? And they were like, yeah. So they gave me like a puke bag, and I went in the bathroom because I didn't want to be vomiting blood by people. So go in the bathroom, puke in the bag, and apparently it was substantial. So then I came back out to fill out my paperwork, and I sat down, and a nurse saw, and she's like, did you just do that? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, she turns around, just yells down a hallway, you need an effing room now. And I'm like, okay. So I go back, they say, hey, we think you've torn your esophagus. We're going to surgery, suture, weld, solder. I don't know what they do, but they're going to fix it. So I reached out to her. She was actually still living in Greenville. I was in Scottsdale at the time. And I said, hey, going to surgery. Don't tell my mother, because she lived locally. I don't want her to worry. So she says, okay. And I go into surgery, and I wake up 27 days later. And I woke up, and one of my training partners was in the room, and he said, you know what day it is? And I was like, Thursday, because I just got my beard done. And he goes, no, do you know what month it is? And I was like, okay. So that's when they explained to me that I was in a coma for almost a month. During the time in the coma, I tore my esophagus like the whole length. So I won't go into bastardizing how they fixed it, but somehow there was a balloon in me, all sorts of things they had to do to fix it. But because I was a bodybuilder and because of how I ate and drank, they almost killed me accidentally also, because I would drink 1.5 gallons, 2 gallons of water a day. They were putting the fluids into me that you would give a normal person. So I became drastically dehydrated and started filling up with water, to which in their head they thought, oh no, there's a problem, let's throw diuretics at it. Then my kidneys almost shut down. So fortunately, I don't know who it was, but one of my friends explained to them my life, and they just pummeled me with fluids. It all went away. But at one point I had 3 things, which I can't even remember the name of, but 3 different things that they said individually could kill you. I had all of them at once and didn't die, so apparently it wasn't my time. And then I came back to. Woke up, they said, hey, we're gonna have to teach you how to walk again. That should take a couple of weeks. It took 2 days. I was out of there 2 days later, and I was back in the gym that night.
Wow. So do you have any recollection of like the coma now? Like you just remember going to the hospital and then waking up?
Yeah, I can remember some dreams, but I imagine that they were drug portion, not in the coma. I don't remember anything in the coma. Like people ask like really deep questions. I'm like, sorry, I ain't got the answers. I was just out, And for me, it's funny because people will see me and they're like, oh, that must have been so hard. I'm like, no, I was asleep. It was no problem at all. I do have to put this one point in because I think it would be horrendous for me to not mention. But so when I was in the coma, like I've told you, I've worked with clients online since 2001. I had a ton of clients, and I respond to all of my clients' emails within 24 hours, 27 days. People figured out that something was wrong relatively quickly. While I was in the coma, and I had insurance and all that good stuff, but while I was in the coma, they started to GoFundMe because my insurance, I can't remember what they were saying it was a day, but in the 27 days, I think my bill was over $700,000 or something. Now I had insurance to take a bunch of that, but take your deductible and your 20%, it's still a nice little ticket there. And they started to GoFundMe for it. And I will say this, that was more life-changing than a coma was I used to tell people all the time, and I didn't mean this in a bad way, but some bodybuilders get a little bit of an ego. They have some success, whether it's on stage or whatever, and they think they're special. And I used to always say, listen, dude, when you walk away from this sport, no one's gonna remember your name, no one cares. You have no reason to have an ego. You're not changing anyone's life. And then I come out to over $100,000 in donations from fans who are strongly disagreeing with the impact that I made. And I could see, because they comment on there, like, why they chose to give or whatever, and hearing people say like, oh, I just feel like I'm paying back for the years of entertainment or information or whatever, it was wild. And then of course at that point I'm also still pretty buzzed out on the meds that they had me on. So it took me a few days to even figure out how to verbally make a video that wasn't completely an embarrassing example of how appreciative I was. And honestly, obviously the money was great, but the appreciation came more from realizing that I was wrong and people cared, that you were there and took the time. I mean, just imagining someone stopping their day, or the amount of messages I had from people, whether it's prayers or whatever they were saying, you just go, wow, like I was wrong. And it also helped me then from that point step back and say, I got to do better. Like if people are paying attention like this, and I thought it was just a sideshow, like I really need to be more grateful, not just for them, but just for the opportunity to do that, you know? And that was really a wild thing. And of course it was funny because on the other end of the spectrum, Internet 101, I had plenty of people mad that someone started a GoFundMe while I was in a coma, because they said, well, you're financially doing well, why would you do that? I was like, I was in a coma, so no one had to, you know? But it was a really interesting thing to me. So I definitely learned to rethink where I was at and really be appreciative, because since then, the way I always had fun with fans and I always appreciated them, but now it's like so much higher. You know, every time you go on a trip, it's like, pinch me, I can't believe people care, especially now. I haven't competed in forever. They still want to meet, they still want to talk. It's wild.